Dallas Cowboys presentation of Countdown to Kickoff, presented by AT&T, is sponsored by Bank of America, official bank of the Dallas Cowboys, Reliant, an NRG company, Sleep Number, the official sleep and wellness partner of the Dallas Cowboys, and by AT&T, the official partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Go Cowboys!
The training camp portion of training camp out in California has come to a close for your Dallas Cowboys, but the good news is America's team back in action tonight for preseason game number 2 here at Lumen Field against the Seattle Seahawks. Welcome down to Countdown to Kickoff here fieldside. Haley Sutton and Mickey Spagnola to get you started on this show, and we are so excited to kick this show off with none other than our very own head coach Mike McCarthy. He's getting mic'd up, he's got his headset on, and we are so excited to hear from head coach Mike McCarthy. And Mike, we went back to California after preseason game 1. We're here in Seattle, a lot of travel, but it's time to play some football.
It's all about playing football. This is a great environment to compete in, so we got a perfect night. So looking forward to getting after it.
That was like a thunder drill. Got to get here and go, right?
No doubt, no doubt.
Just look after the Oxnard part of training camp. Do you have any particular positions that you're focusing in on tonight for preseason game number 2?
I wouldn't say anything particular because we're going to go to similar format that we had last week against Jacksonville. So, and it's just really seeing our young guys take another step. I thought we did a really nice job for the first preseason game of the pace of operation. I thought we established a good play style for the most part. We could be better, so I do want to see us improve in those 2 areas. But the way we finish tonight will be big. This team plays with a lot of energy. Always have. That's part of the program, and we consider ourselves, in that league also. So I really want to see our guys finish each and every play. The opportunity for big plays above the 2.3 that we've talked about in the past. So I want to see our young players take a step here.
How would you evaluate how your team performed at training camp out in Oxnard? I know you talked a little bit about it, but just your overall impressions going into tonight's game.
I think the biggest thing with training camp is, the volume of quality of work. And I thought we really hit the target there. I think that, when you put together our training camp schedule, you always want to push the stress points of everything that you're trying to get done. Most years, you normally have to cut back as we all overplan. That wasn't the case this year. We were able to stay on course and hit our targets.
I'm guessing you like the intensity, especially in that last practice. Things got a couple of skirmishes, but that's not bad, as you pointed out during the week, as long as we're not throwing punches.
Yeah, emotional discipline is critical to the success. We talk about penalty prevention, and you look at the post-snap and pre-snap penalties that occur in our game, and that really, that environment you have to compete in, and you can't wait till you just get in the real games for that. So, we encourage that type of edginess and so forth, but because you have to handle that in the real games. And, I think the biggest thing is that everything was good until someone throws a punch, and that's a line you just cannot cross.
I know we can't talk and we can't say enough good things about having Zach Martin back at camp, but for this offensive line, especially the depth going forward, especially in tonight's game, how has he been a benefit to some of those young guys?
Well, every way you possibly can. Zach's a great teammate. He's a phenomenal example. He has great presence when he walks into the room. So, he has all those things that he's established throughout his career here. So, and then, on top of it, he's a hell of a football player. So, it's been great to have him back.
Yeah, I was going to say, how does he benefit you as a play caller?
Oh, yeah. Well, he makes you want to run to the right side a little more. That's for sure.
Go ahead. No, you go first.
I was watching Brandon Aubrey warm up here, and he was really striking the ball well. The last kick he tried, it was from 55, plenty of distance. I know you guys like him, but these are big games for him to prove that, to get your confidence in him. Yeah,
definitely, and it's nothing that he hasn't done. It's just, we're new working together. This is a normal process, but we recognize the talent. It's definitely there. I've been very impressed, but most importantly, his work ethic is, his approach is very, very consistent. I think that's critical at that. And I think we talked about this last week. Is 2 of the 3 members of the battery are new, so we just need time together. But it's gone well.
I know earlier this week you talked about being the play caller and how there's some things that maybe you could improve on. How do you evaluate yourself in these games in that new role?
Well, I mean, we talked about it openly as a staff. I mean, everybody has job responsibilities on game day, myself included. So anytime you do something new as a staff, we got some guys that are up in a box that may not have been there in a year or two. Some guys are down on the field. So, but there's a lot of information that's collected. So number one, the collection of data, the accuracy of the data, but more importantly, the communication of the data and how it's applied and how it's given to the players. So, I think we'll definitely be a week better.
Definitely trending in the right direction. That's head coach Mike McCarthy. He's got some plays to call in this game 2 against the Seattle Seahawks. So we'll go ahead and let you go, Mike. We're going to go ahead and take a break here on Countdown to Kickoff, but we are just getting started, guys. When we come back, we've got the man himself, owner and general manager Jerry Jones, sitting down with us here on set. Countdown to Kickoff continues here at Lumen Field in Seattle. This segment brought to you by Dr. Pepper, an official soft drink of the Dallas Cowboys, the one fans deserve. I'm so excited to be sitting here right now on set. I've got Mickey Spagnola to my left, and I've also got none other than owner and general manager Jerry Jones with us here on Countdown to Kickoff. And Jerry, you can look around, you see how well these Cowboys fans travel to watch your team play. How exciting is it?
Well, to give you an idea, the guy that picked us up on the plane, our driver, has been driving us for 17 years.
Wow.
And one of the greatest Cowboy fans you've ever seen. And so it always feels good to be here in Seattle. These fans are just phenomenal for the NFL. And, of course, this stadium is just legendary as far as the challenge it presents for the visiting team. You add all that up, and it's exciting to come up here and play in the NFL in Seattle.
Hope you got him into the game, right? Your driver, get him a ticket?
Well, I think we can. As a matter of fact, I think he's got a collection of hats over the years, and we've got quite a relationship going, but it's always good to see him. And between the airplane and the airport, he'll tell you more about the roster than we know.
Well, speaking of
I
the
was
roster,
say, let's talk about that roster.
I was going to ask you, the construction of your roster, how satisfied are you with it, with the Oxnard portion of training camp finished? You've already played one preseason game. What do you think of where your roster is right now?
Well, we've got to be pleased with the primary reason you go to Oxford, and that is to get those repetitions. We got a lot of work in up there. The weather was outstanding. You can avoid a lot of soft tissue problems, as well as major problems, and we didn't have that, and that's a big plus. On the other hand, we've really gotten to see a lot of young players. We have more young players than ever. We normally would be dealing with cut downs right now, and going from 85 players, or according to what year it is, you'd be cutting 10 or 15 before this game, or certainly before the next game. That's not the case anymore. You get to see a lot of players, get to see a lot of them play. They're very important to the season. With our 17 games, we're continually going to the practice squad, if you will, where several of these players will end up. You're continually going to other people's practice squads and continuing to work your roster as you go through the season. So these preseason games have really escalated in importance of building and managing a roster in today's NFL.
So the cut-down day is not till August 29th, but you talked about the young players you have. It looks like you might have some more depth than you've had in some time. So how difficult will that make to get to 53?
Well, of course, you're seeing the psychology here that's bearing on me. And that is, when I think of young players and think of them playing well, I ask, how are we going to keep them? And how are we going to keep them on our roster? How are we going to get them over to the practice squad? For our fans, when you get to your 53 and then you cut another player, to get him to your practice squad, he becomes exposed. And another team can pick him up, and they do, just as we look to pick one of theirs up as well. The good news is that we really have a deep group of young players, both with the players we drafted as well as the college free agents that we have. And we have some of those out here that very likely I may take my hand and put as many as 4 that could be college free agents that end up on this 53-man roster.
We knew it would be difficult to get through training camp without seeing a few competitive back and forth, if you will. This week was very competitive with those guys. Do you like seeing that competitive edge from your roster?
Well, I do, because this game is very physical, and the game is very competitive. And the level of emotion has everything to do with that. Now, you got to learn to control your emotion. You got to learn to not do certain things, or what? You'll hurt your team. You get your team penalized. But that still doesn't mean have emotion, have that fight, want to beat your man, get your man. He can be your teammate at Oxnard, or he can be against the New York Giants, but you want to get your man. And when you're watching film with your teammates, when that man gets you, that's embarrassing. You don't like that. And so that can get frustrating on the practice field.
So I know he's not going to play tonight, but how did it look at practice when they were kind of doing individual drills to see Zach Martin out there at right guard with the rest of basically your starting offensive line?
Well, needless to say, it was a wonderful feeling. Zach's in a league of his own. He needs to be with his guys. That's what he said to me when we met in Dallas, and we had a couple of meetings to iron this thing out. I need to be with my guys, and they needed to be with him as well. He's not only one of the more outstanding players, he's one of the outstanding offensive linemen, but he's indispensable to the Dallas Cowboys. And so it's good to have him out here. It's good to see him in that dressing room before we came out.
Good to see number 70. It's good to see the Dallas Cowboys taking the field as they continue to get ready for tonight's game against the Seahawks. Jerry, thanks so much for sitting with us. We're going to go ahead and take another break here on Countdown to Kickoff. That segment, of course, brought to you by Dr. Pepper, an official soft drink of the Dallas Cowboys and the one fans deserve. When we come back, we've got Isaiah Standback taking a break from the booth to sit with us on Countdown to Kickoff. Back here on Countdown to Kickoff, this segment brought to you by Papa John's. Better ingredients, better pizza, Papa John's. Haley Sutton and Mickey Spagnola with you here on Countdown to Kickoff. And honestly, Mickey, every single segment we get bigger and better. And now we've got Isaiah Standback sitting in here. And I say that because I just get so emotional. We got this newspaper here. Isaiah Standback back here in Seattle. This, of course, is your home. And for you to not only be back in your home, but to be here calling this game, I want to start there. Just how exciting is this for you?
It's pretty doggone dope, I have to tell you, Haley. Being back home in Seattle, it's been a couple years since I've been here. Obviously, went to high school here, grew up here, went to the University of Washington. Actually made a stop here in Seattle as well. So having the opportunity to come back here and now call a game from the booth, never even been on that level, Nick. But now being able to sit out there and call the game, it means a lot.
The hometown hero,
too,
right?
Yeah,
absolutely. Your high school field, right?
Yeah, that's a high school field. I'm going to tell you, it's a lot nicer now than it was before. Even the University of Washington, you see right there, had the opportunity to speak to the team. That was awesome. But facilities are nicer, man. Guys have better opportunities. I'm just blessed to be able to go out there and be able to give back a little bit.
All right, well, let's get your analyst hat on.
All right, let's go.
We're going to go running back. We know two things. Number one, Tony Pollard's the starter. Number two, doesn't look like Zeke's coming back. So now you got about 3 guys behind that are be out here tonight trying to win either the backup spot or a spot on the roster. Your thoughts on it?
No, you're absolutely correct, Mick. I mean, obviously this game, too, means absolutely everything for these guys. I think going into the first preseason game, you had an idea who was going to be the number 2 guy. Obviously, with Rico Dowdle, he had a pretty good game last week. He carried the ball well. I mean, the few carries he had, he did a good job in the screen game. But then what did he do? He had the hiccup down there on the goal line. So that opens things up back to the number 2 position. Not only are guys going for number 3, but who's going to fill the number 2 role? Deuce Vaughn obviously showed up. He did a heck of a job. Malik Davis, he's going to have to show up tonight. I'm assuming he's going to get some more opportunities because he only had a handful of carries. But that's a pretty open room right now behind Tony Pollard. So we have to see who's going to step up.
Let's talk about Deuce Vaughn because we knew coming into this season that he would be a player that fans would really latch onto. But to match the fan energy with the excitement that he brought onto the field, how do you see his role continuing to develop?
I mean, more opportunities. I mean, you look at a young man who's going to have not only an impact on special teams, but we saw what he was capable of doing in the backfield. I mean, there was no question about that in college, but now he's brought that and he's shown a little glimpse of that in the league. Now everybody's going to start looking at the things that he, quote-unquote, can't do. Can he pass block? Can he catch out the backfield? I think you're going to have an opportunity to see some of those things apparent tonight.
So, as a quarterback looking at this thing, during practice this past week, the Cowboys had like a 1st and goal at the 2. And I'm thinking, okay, where's Zeke, right? And that's where he needs to be. If you don't have a Zeke-type running back, can you compensate when you're that close to the goal line with maybe some of your other talents that you have?
I think that you can, and I think the guy that you might automatically think about is Rico Dowdle just because of his pure size. He's the largest of all the guys that they have in the backfield currently. But when you start thinking about it from the perspective of a power back, right, it's not necessarily going to come in the form of size. So the Deuce Vaughn, he's compact, right? He's 5'5", 185, 190 pounds. He's solid, but what can you not do on the goal line? You can't freaking see him, Mick. You can't see him. So all you're looking for is a little seam down there on the goal line. So I think they put him in those positions in practice to see what can he handle and is he capable of going out there and executing.
And can you use your speed to your advantage, getting guys out on the flanks or using your tight ends to maybe say, okay, I don't have a running back that's going to push the pile. Maybe I don't want to go into the pile.
No, you're absolutely correct. I mean, I think he has the ability to do all the things the big backs can do. Jump over the pile, push from underneath, but also you talked about being able to outflank your defenders. If I'm a linebacker at the second level and I can't see him behind a bunch formation or behind a line, and all of a sudden by the time I actually have a visual on him, he's outflanked me, that's the type of advantage that Deuce Vaughn presents, and he's quick and shifty so he can make that first man miss.
That's the type of stuff you're going to hear on tonight's broadcast from Isaiah Standback. Isaiah, thanks so much for taking some time. I'm going to give you this newspaper. This is for you to keep. Frame that somewhere. It's got your name on it. We're so excited for you to be back home. Isaiah Standback up in the booth. Let's take another break here on Countdown to Kickoff. When we come back, we've been talking about Zach Martin all show. He sat down with our very own Nick Eatman on Cowboys Storyline. We'll share that with you when we come back. Just over 41 minutes until kickoff between your Dallas Cowboys and the Seattle Seahawks here at Lumen Field. And would you look at that, a welcome sight on the football field as we welcome you back into Countdown to Kickoff. This segment brought to you by Ashley, the official furniture store of the Dallas Cowboys. Back here on the field, Haley Sutton with you. Of course, it's a welcome sight to have Zach Martin back at practice. He made the arrival earlier this week at training camp in California. He's here in Seattle. And our very own Nick Eatman had the opportunity to sit down with him earlier this week on his new podcast, Cowboys Storyline.
I only will ask one about money contract. I know we're turning the page, we're moving on. But it's something you said in the press conference yesterday about you never, even yourself, you never would have thought of yourself as a holdout guy. Was there something that you just had, you know what, I'm getting to a certain age, like, I've got to do this for me, I got to take care of?
Yeah, it was just something I felt really strongly about. I felt that, you know, something that I had earned and deserved, and I really felt strongly about it. And, you know, I just figured with my agent's help and just kind of understanding the situation that the only way that this probably was going to happen, and if I really wanted it to happen, something like this was probably going to happen. So, not what I wanted it to do, but I'm glad I got out here a few weeks before that week 1 game so I can get ready.
I believe in irony, coincidences, stuff like that. I mean, the same day this all broke, the same day you were the 99 Madden. I mean, anything
No, it wasn't. There was nothing. That was my decision to do what I did was made up well before that, but it was funny how that came out right next to each other.
A casual 99 rating on Madden for Zach Martin. Very nonchalant about it as we welcome in the host of Cowboys Storyline, Nick Eatman. Nick, casual conversation with Zach Martin.
Yeah, we're just kind of chatting. I was just like, I mean, you know, 99, did that trigger this whole thing? Like, wait a second here. If I'm a 99 again, maybe I need a little bit more money. And obviously there's more to it than that. But you know, it's just a tough balance any veteran has to make there. It's like, is getting up there in years? Do I go after the money here? What I feel like is right, you know, is what he said. At the same time, he's a veteran. He's the leader of this offensive line and one of the leaders of the entire team. And so, what kind of example does that set? It's a tough balance, but you know, the great ones have all done it, and I think everyone's happy that it worked out.
You know, the other component of that negotiation, and you understand how important this is to players. when they're getting close to the end of their contract to get guaranteed money. And they guaranteed him the last 2 years. And that sounded like that was important to Zach also.
Yeah, without a doubt. And, I mean, you can look at age and go, okay, well, he's getting up there in 33 or whatever. But stop getting 99s in Madden, and then maybe we can talk. But, I just think he had a great point. You understand the Cowboys side of it too. You understand you signed the contract, and that's why you signed a 6-year deal. But at the same time, it all worked out. And Jerry Jones was just talking earlier to some reporters, and they may not be done with that. With even if he keeps playing like this, they'll be at the table talking here in a couple years.
Yeah, it was interesting to hear Zach Martin say it was basically a masterclass in business last weekend when he went home and sat down with Jerry Jones. But for the rest of this offensive line, I know it's been kind of difficult to evaluate what the second and third levels of that offensive line looks at. I know you're going to be on the sidelines today for this one. What are you watching for on that offensive line?
Well, Zach obviously is not going to be there. And one thing that I did say is the whole line just got better with him coming back in there. Obviously, right guard, center, and right tackle get better as well. But now you just want to see the domino effect. I want to see some of these backup guards. I want to see a backup center. You have an idea who 1 through 5 is, Mick, but after that, 6 through 9 or 10, it's wide open. So let's look at what Josh Ball does. Well, let's go Farniok, those guys right there. And if Seattle is going to play some starters, that's even better for the evaluation process.
And, typical offensive linemen, the Cowboys aren't going to have 26 guys play in this game. We know that, right? And most of them don't have their pads on. Zach Martin's got his shoulder pads on. He's not playing, but that's typical offensive lineman. Backup tackle. You got to have one, and one of the guys that maybe you're looking at that position, and I know the Cowboys really like what they've seen so far from their 5th-round pick, Awesome Richard.
Yeah, I mean, if your name's Awesome, you have to play like it. So, he's got position flex too, guard and tackle. I do like the way that he's come in here as a rookie and learn those 2 spots. But, yeah, Awesome is another guy. Well, let's go. Ball, you really want to see what these guys can do.
All right, well, there you have it. Nick Eatman will be on the broadcast as well. He'll be down on the sidelines. We look forward to your coverage in this one, Nick. Let's go ahead and take another break here on Countdown to Kickoff. That segment, of course, brought to you by Ashley Home Store, the official furniture store of the Dallas Cowboys. And if you're not sick of hearing from Nick yet, we got good news for you. We got the other Nick Harris, sitting in on the chair with us to talk about this defense and how the secondary will fail against the Seahawks. Welcome back here to Lumen Field for Countdown to Kickoff. This segment brought to you by Reliant, an NRG company. And he's so nice we had to bring him in twice. We're talking Knicks, that is, as we welcome in one of the newest members of DallasCowboys.com, Nick Harris. But Nick, you might be new, but you have dove right into this Cowboys roster, so let's jump right into it. The Cowboys secondary will definitely be a spot to pay attention to for Cowboys fans and the coaching staff as well. Give us the scouting report on that secondary.
Yeah, absolutely. We saw Nahshon Wright come out in his boot. He suffered an ankle injury last week. Doesn't look like we'll be seeing him again this week. So that's an opportunity for guys like Deron Bland, Eric Scott to go ahead and step up. And this is a really talented Seattle receiving corps, especially if we see the ones today with guys like DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, still kind of in the air. But nevertheless, we will see their first-round pick, Jackson Smith and Jigba, a Rockwall native in East Dallas. So really excited to see him in the slot lined up against Deron Bland. I think that's a really interesting challenge for him this week.
So we saw the 3rd-round pick, DeMarvion Overshown, in this last game, and he had another good week of practice. Your perspective on just what you've seen from him so far?
Absolutely, versatility. I think that's the thing that's always jumped out about DeMarvion Overshown. He can step back in coverage. He can cover sideline to sideline. He can fly downhill for a tackle in the backfield, and we saw a lot of that last week. I think we'll continue to see a lot of that in the preseason as well, but it's special teams. That's what's been so great about him coming in as a rookie. He's done a great job with special teams coordinator John Fossil. He raves about him every single time he gets the opportunity. So Demo definitely doing a good job.
DeMarvion Overshown is Mr. Versatility for what it's worth. He started his career as a running back. He has played safety. He's played linebacker. Basically every position as a defender for DeMarvion Overshown. But let's talk about the Cowboys' first-round draft pick, Mazi Smith. He had just over 30 snaps in last week's game, and a lot of the conversation surrounding him is just building the fundamentals, building that footwork. We saw him last week come out a little bit early at times and working one-on-one with the coaches. What are your expectations for him in this one?
Yeah, about Mazi Smith, it's all about pairing that brute strength with a little bit more technique, a little bit more physicality and finesse. And I think he has a really interesting opportunity tonight. He's going against his old college teammate, center Oluwatimi. Oluwatami's been battling an elbow injury. We might not see him tonight, but if we do, I think it's going to be really fun for Mazi up front. A guy he's really experienced with. He fought every day with at Michigan last year. They only had one season together, but I think that's going to be a really interesting opportunity for him if he does see him tonight.
You know, I think there's one guy that continues to be overlooked on that defensive front. Second-year guy. You know, it's almost like, well, that's old hat. But Sam Williams has been playing with a lot of inspiration, spirit.
To say it lightly.
And just your thoughts on him making that jump from a very good first year to his second year.
Yeah, his motor and his feistiness is what sticks out to me. And we saw it this week in practice. He was right in the middle of a couple of those skirmishes. But you love to see that intensity from a second-year guy. I think he's ready to take that next leap. And we saw some flashes last week, but I think even he would say that he could do better this week.
My favorite thing about Sam is that while he's in practice, he's physical, he's trash-talking, he's in your face. And as soon as the drill's over, he'll walk you up and dap you up, try and make you laugh. So we love that from Sam Williams. Nick, before we let you go, I understand you have a new column that just came out on DallasCowboys.com. It's called Nick at Night. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Nick at Night was something that I had in my very first stop in journalism, and I wanted to still bring it over to this outfit and how could I evolve the idea. And so it's a column, so every Tuesday night, come check me out on DallasCowboys.com. We have a little fun. It's a little barbershop talk, but yeah, we have some fun with it.
There you have it, the very newest member of DallasCowboys.com, but the hardest worker nonetheless. Nick Harris, thanks so much for being with us. Let's go ahead and take another break here on Countdown to Kickoff. That segment brought to you by Reliant, an NRG company. When we come back, some players you should keep your eye out on as we get ready to kick off against the Seattle Seahawks. Coming up. Countdown to Kickoff continues here. This segment brought to you by Papa John's. Better ingredients, better pizza, Papa John's. Mickey, if that doesn't get you fired up to play a football game, Brock Hoffman in the middle of the huddle, getting his guys going, I don't know what does. Back here down on the field, Ailey Sutton and Mickey Spagnola alongside with you. Mickey, we saw the guys head to the locker room just a few minutes ago. Micah and Trayvon pumping up the crowd. We won't see them tonight suit up against the Seahawks, but a couple players we will see on offense. We'll get it started here with Jalen Tolbert. What are your expectations there?
Yeah, absolutely. Big expectations for Jalen Tolbert. This is his second year, and he's one of those guys that's ready to make that jump from the first year to the second year. You saw him flash in this past preseason game, had a touchdown catch, and he continued to build momentum through the week of practice. He's trying to show them that he can be the fourth receiver. We know the top three, that's easy. Now 4, 5, and who knows, maybe 6. But Jalen Tolbert has really played well. Another guy that's in a rotation at running back, Malik Davis, number 34. Those guys are trying to prove between himself, Rico Dotto, Deuce Vaughn, hey, I'm the backup behind Tony Pollard. We know that, right? Now they need to develop these other guys, and it may be by committee. But he's a guy last year that flashed. Now we'll see if he can make that big second-year jump.
On the defensive side of the ball, a couple standout players last week, but Damone Clark definitely with a big game and a big second-year jump, as Mike McCarthy always talks about. I'm excited to see 33 on the field.
Well, Cowboys are excited to see him. You know, this week somebody asked me the question, who's starting next to Leighton Vander Esch? And I'm going, have you been watching? Number 33, Damone Clark. This is a guy that after the combine last year, he found out he needed neck surgery. He had the surgery. He missed the offseason with the Cowboys. He missed training camp. He missed the first month or two of the season, and he came out and played well, and boy, is he balling right now. Also, Matt Waletzko, another guy that's trying to prove in his second year that he can be at least the backup swing tackle. He was injured most of last year. He's getting an opportunity at right tackle to start tonight, and he's got to be able to step up. He's right there with that Hoffman guy, and you need to keep an eye on him also.
And then switching to special teams here, Brandon Aubrey will have a spotlight on him, I think, until he's officially named the only kicker on the roster. But just he had a great week of practice so far, an okay debut last week. What do we need to see from Brandon Aubrey?
Well, this week he continued kicking well in training camp, kicking well into that win in Oxnard. Now, when I saw him out here today warming up, he was kicking the ball awfully well. It's not about talent. It's not about leg strength. It's about being consistent and the mental aspect of being a kicker, right? He hit from 55 out here, no problem, and it cleared by at least 5-7 yards. So he's got the leg. Now he needs the mental capacity to prove I am your kicker. Yeah, and this will definitely be a challenge for him given the environment. This is a pretty feisty environment. The Seahawks fans are out in full force. How do you think that factors into his performance today? Well, I'm guessing, I know he played high school soccer, college soccer, nothing against the MLS, but he's probably not played in front of crowds like this before, and now he's trying to change sports and prove that he can be an NFL kicker.
Well, there you have it. Those are your players to watch, presented by American Airlines as we get closer and closer to kickoff. Just over 23 minutes here on Countdown to Kickoff. Let's go ahead and take another break. That segment, of course, was brought to you by Papa John's. Better ingredients, better pizza, Papa John's. When we come back, we've got sounds from training camp. Michael Gallup putting on the mic. We'll hear from wide receiver 3 when we come back. Back here on Countdown to Kickoff as we get closer to the Cowboys facing off against the Seahawks. This segment brought to you by your Texas Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas. Haley Sutton and Mickey Spagnola with you. And Mickey, training camp might be over out in California, but the good news is we've got a little bit of memories to catch up on. We've got a couple of our guys mic'd up throughout camp, and today's edition of Training Camp Sounds is brought to you by none other than wide receiver Michael Gallup.
Say no bullshit, you know what I'm saying? Stop, bro. Mike on the back anyway. Oh yeah, getting through there. Yeah. Big drop step right there. That's really what I'm good at. I make sure you was locked in. See how you corrected me? I was making sure you knew. All right, dirty. Good night, dirty. What I'm talking about? Just a little commentary. And a comment on everybody for us today. And an athletic catch right there. Pretty solid. Athletic catch, Jose, nice move. Okay, draw him. Big ass hands. He got like a 3X, bro. Really 3.5. The rookie. Uh-oh. He got CD Lamb back up at the top. It's called a bang-bang play. Little second base throw, you know what I'm saying? Simmons pretty good. Pretty good. The rookie. Man, he ain't got no saw in his helmet yet. Yeah. Got him. Oh yeah, did it. 2 hands, big fella. Dino. My bad, boy. I didn't mean to step on your foot. Hey, freaking 9 out there. Freaking 9. I ain't see no cameras on it. Don't let they have a camera following. Yeah, somebody. Just a mic? Been following the whole time. I got you. That's a day's work right there. Thank you, bro. Day's work. Send me. Let them know. Day's work right there. Tell the camera.
You never trust him. He didn't even tell us he was mic'd up, telling like.
Stop lying, bro. I told everybody. Let y'all know. Feds out here watching.
You were fed.
Ain't no fed, cuz.
Mickey, it is so good to see Michael Gallup be Michael Gallup again,
Yes.
and I love listening to him jaw with some of his teammates too.
One of the all-time nice guys, right? He's just a nice guy, and you pull for a guy like that. His story after the Cowboys drafted him in the 3rd round, he was starting to become a star, tore his ACL, and last year he just wasn't Michael Gallup that we knew. But I'll tell you what, from what we've seen in training camp so far, Michael Gallup's Michael Gallup once again.
Yeah, it'll be nice to see him get some reps, I'm sure, as the preseason goes on and as we get closer to that Giants game in week 1. But obviously he's got to have a quarterback throw to him. The quarterbacks we'll see today, once again, Cooper Rush and Will Grier. I want to put the emphasis here on Will Grier because he's the one I think who will get the bulk of the reps, similar to last week. How do you mark his improvement in tonight's game?
Yeah, you got to remember last week, that's the first time he actually played in a game since the previous preseason, and he was hurt most of training camp. So the fact that he got out there and played, they want to see more, and they got to make a decision. Is he going to be on the 53-man roster as the third quarterback, or are they going to put him on the practice squad? So basically that's what he's playing for out here. But look, just look at this wide receiver core right now with CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks, Michael Gallup, and then after that, they're fighting for 4, 5, and 6. But look at the difference than what it was last year, because last year when the Cowboys started the season, the starting 3 wide receivers were CeeDee Lamb, Noah Brown, and Dennis Houston. So that's a marked improvement and I can't believe we're 48 minutes into the show and I'm going to say Dak Prescott. I don't think his name came up yet, right?
No, it hasn't.
And Dak Prescott's had a really good camp. He's made the transition from different play callers, offensive coordinators, and he's been on point. But I don't think we're going to see him until they play the Giants.
I don't think we'll see Dak Prescott either, and it's interesting. Trayvon Diggs was out here earlier chucking up some passes in place of Dak Prescott down to the cornerback. So Trayvon's got a nice arm. You can check out that video on my Twitter. But before we go, Mickey, let's talk about Dak because he's always under scrutiny from every direction, it feels like. So for him to kind of face that head on, he had a tremendous camp, to your point. What's his ceiling going into this season?
Yeah, I think he's back. He's Dak Prescott. You got to look at what happened last year. We can start with the 3 receivers he started the season with, right? So there's nothing wrong with Dak Prescott. He's still throwing the ball well. They've got an offense that is getting the ball out of his hands quicker a lot of times, maybe less reads and a faster pace. So he's the guy. Don't worry about the national stuff. You see the headlines that everybody's looking for clicks. This is the same guy that had played at a Pro Bowl level early in his career. He's right back at it right now. There's nothing wrong with Dak Prescott.
Nothing wrong at all. We just won't see him tonight suit up behind center. That'll do it for our portion of Countdown to Kickoff down here on the field. This segment was brought to you by Ford. Ford is the best in Texas. For Mickey Spagnola, I'm Haley Sutton. Thanks so much for kicking it with us down on the field. We'll send things up to the booth with Kyle Yeomans and Bill Jones.
The Dallas Cowboys presentation of Countdown to Kickoff, presented by AT&T, was sponsored by Bank of America, official bank of the Dallas Cowboys. Sleep Number, the official sleep and wellness partner of the Dallas Cowboys. And by AT&T, the official partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
And Countdown to Kickoff continues here in the beautiful city of Seattle, Lumen Field. Bill Jones now joined by Kyle Yeomans, and Isaiah Standback will be along for the call of the game in a matter of moments here as we had the opportunity to watch both teams work out before the game in the pregame warm-ups. As you know, Dak's not playing in this game. Looks like Geno Smith's going to go for Seattle. Let's talk about the Cowboy quarterbacks who will play in this game, as Cooper Rush will be the first man to get to be under center to start this one, just like last week.
Very close to what we saw last week with Cooper Rush. You're going to see him much of the first quarter, maybe through the first series or two, but there's also a chance to see Will Grier early in this game as well, and you got that third-string quarterback able to get in there and mix in with Cooper Rush. Rush proved his stuff in 2022 when he went 4-1 as a starter in relief of Dak Prescott, who got injured in week 1. So having Cooper Rush out there, this coaching staff doesn't need to see a bunch of that. It's Will Grier's time to get some reps and to continue to show what this coaching staff and really the front office what he means to this organization.
And it's a real opportunity for Will Grier. Keep in mind, he was a third-round draft pick of the Carolina Panthers coming out of a record-setting career at West Virginia. And the Cowboys really didn't get that much of an opportunity last year because of an injury to see Will Grier and get him snaps in the preseason. They're getting that opportunity this year.
And it's awesome to see because he has that talent. He showed it at West Virginia. He showed it in the Big 12. He hasn't necessarily had that chance other than really his rookie preseason in Carolina to show his stuff as a quarterback. And really outside of the starting year, the second year in Carolina, most of his snaps in an NFL uniform have come in the preseason. So these are the reps, these are the snaps that he's got to take advantage of if he wants to continue to push for at least a spot on an NFL roster, whether that's in Dallas or elsewhere.
You know, you look at Dak Prescott there, and I can only think back to 7 years ago, and on this very field in a preseason game, Tony Romo went down with what turned out to be a career-ending injury for him, and there was the rookie fourth-round draft pick, Dak Prescott, who made the most of his opportunity. He played well in that game, and, of course, he played well all season his rookie year.
Yeah, he's still growing and still kind of picking up this new offense of Mike McCarthy. If Zach Martin would have been in camp from the start, I think you would have seen Dak Prescott tonight because Mike McCarthy wants to have that communication. He wants to continue to push toward week one with his quarterback being able to hear him in his ear. It's loud in this building tonight in Lumen Field, so it would have been a great test. But because Zach Martin's not ready to get into game action, has not seen a team rep in camp so far, has only been back for the 7 days, it's going to be tough to really see Dak Prescott in the preseason here in 2023.
And you have had an opportunity to see all the training camp practices. How about this week in Jalen Tolbert? The reports out of Oxnard this week is number 18, Jalen Tolbert, is really coming on strong in this camp.
He's been fantastic, and that's been such a big sign for this offense and the way that it wants to move forward with these wide receivers. You have those top three guys, CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks, Michael Gallup. They're all not playing tonight, but you'll see Jalen Tolbert, who has all but locked up that fourth wide receiver spot, and if he can continue to show what he's done, not only last week by scoring a touchdown in the first preseason game, but turning around and doing something special in week number 2 of the preseason, I think Jalen Tolbert's going to have a very nice preseason and a chance to make some noise here in 23.
Going to be a good test. Speaking of noise, it's getting loud here at Lumen Field. We'll have the game broadcast for you in just a matter of moments from here in Seattle as Isaiah Standback will join us shortly.